Hi, and welcome to Untethered with Jen Liss, the podcast that's here to help you break free, be you, and unleash your inner brilliance. I'm your host, Jen, and in this episode, I'm here to remind you that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Let's go. Hey there, unicorn. It's Jen. Welcome back to the podcast for this Thursday thread. It's a Thursday thread. I love Thursday threads because we get to pull out a really amazing little nugget from our podcast episode on Tuesday. A reminder that it is okay if you did not listen to the episode featuring Chris on Tuesday. You will still get something really amazing out of this episode. So Chris is an author. He also is known for many things. It's really interesting who he is as a person because it's almost like he has lived many lives within his one life. I feel like it's like one of those people, which we all are this way, right? And I meet people like this all the time. And when I'm coaching people, I'm like, there are so many layers to your onion. Do you even realize? We often don't realize how many layers we do have to our onion. But most people know Chris, many people, I shouldn't say most. A lot of people know Chris for a feat that he had committed to where he was going to travel to 193 countries around the world, which is wild and fun. It's like, I don't know if you remember the show from the 90s, Wild and Crazy Kids. Feels like a very wild and crazy kid thing to do. And so he has accomplished a lot. He's written multiple books. He's done that. He has thousands and thousands of followers on Instagram. And in fact, when I shared with my Instagram audience after I spoke with him, I shared a little video and I tagged him and said, I can't wait for him to come on the podcast. And people said, how did you get him on the podcast? Like, how did you do that? And I'm looking at him and I'm saying, how did you write 3 books? How did you do this? How did you accomplish this feat? How are you on this book tour? You know, we're always looking at other people, and where we can get caught is in comparison instead of being caught by the inspiration of what they are doing. And so here's what I want you to really grasp. And here's also what Chris wants you to really grasp is that you are exactly where you are supposed to be right now, today, exactly where you are. I don't care if you are driving, if you're walking, if you're doing dishes, if you're in the bathroom, maybe you're pottying while listening to this episode, wherever you are, you're exactly where you are supposed to be in your life, in this moment. Really allow yourself to feel that. I am right where I am supposed to be. The more we can remind ourselves of this, the better. We can get so caught up in feeling like I'm not enough of this, I'm not enough of that, I'm not there yet. Look at all these other people doing the thing. And when we begin to compare ourselves like that, there's really nothing to be found there for ourselves. What we can do, and I talked about this on another recent episode, but it just bears so much repeating. Bears so much repeating. Look to others as inspiration. Chris is an inspiration to me that he has accomplished these things. And I can say, look at him. He's just a regular guy. He's a regular human. We all are. We are all made of the same essence. You're a human being, just like me. You have so many layers of onion. You're bringing so much to the table right here in this moment. Recognize that. Recognize the gifts that you have. It's what he's saying to you too. Recognize the gifts that you have. You have so much to offer creatively to this world right now. If you really stopped and looked and understood that you have something that people could be supported by right now. And if you were just okay with where you are at today, moving at your pace. This is another important point. Moving at your pace. You don't have to move at anybody else's pace, but yours. And that pace right now, what is your pace today? Where are you today? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, not 2 weeks ago. Maybe 2 weeks ago, you were feeling really high energy and moving and grooving. We can't expect that from ourselves all the time. Nature doesn't work like that. Is the tree always growing? Let's look at cacti. I went to Phoenix, Arizona earlier this year in March. We saw some spring training games out there. We're big baseball fans in this family and in my friends group. We went out to Arizona, and cacti grow so slow for the first 10 years of their life, these big saguaro cacti. And then all of a sudden they shoot up super, super tall. And that's how we work too. You go through periods of working at a certain pace, of growing at a certain pace. Sometimes it's slower than others. So we can't compare our journey to somebody else's because they might be at a completely different place. And even incredibly successful people have periods of pushing and periods where they slow down. Those people that just seem to be constantly going, I don't even know if they're superhuman. They're probably suffering somewhere on the inside. I look at somebody like Ryan Seacrest and like, how is that guy everywhere all the time? But at the same time, that's his pace, you know? That is who he is. And maybe he genuinely is happy. Who am I to judge? I'm gonna reel myself back in from that thought. His pace is different than my pace. He's a different kind of cacti. And so are you. So check in with yourself today. What is my pace today? Where am I at? How am I feeling? And how often do we give ourselves the grace? Do we give ourselves the time to check in like that and say, hey, where am I at right now? If you do breath work with me, you get to do that, at least once a week. When you do breath work, it gives you that opportunity, that moment to really check in. It's life-changing doing this. And you don't have to do it through breath work. Of course, you could do it through meditation. You can do it through a simple pause that you do by yourself. You could do it in even you're watching TV. You're watching Wheel of Fortune. This is something I watch Wheel of Fortune still most nights. Huge Pat Sajak fan. It's like the end of the world to me that he is retiring. And I've known it's coming. And I can't believe that he actually has continued to host that show for so long. I also love Vanna, but I'm going to segue for a second. Let me talk about something about Pat Sajak. He's so real and he's so himself. And I feel like that is what has made him such an amazing host, is that he knows who he is. And he doesn't try to be any more and he doesn't try to be any less. And he just shows up so fully himself with his goofy jokes. We were watching an episode from the 80s and I'm like, man, he had those bad puns back then. It's so awesome. Anyway, if you're watching Wheel of Fortune tonight, pause it for a second. Check in with yourself. How am I feeling right now? Where am I at? Where's my energy? Have you done that for yourself today? Maybe you're doing it right now. That's fantastic. And notice, is it different than where my energy was yesterday? Is it different than it was 20 minutes ago? And we don't even have to question why, just noticing. Without judgment, maybe with a little bit of curiosity. Yeah, that's where I am. Cool. This is a powerful shift because we begin to layer stories on top of things. Especially when we get into that comparison mode, we can look around at everybody else and say, oh my gosh, how is she already so far? But I'm only here. But actually, I'm really confused and I'm like lost in all the things. I don't even know how to do that yet. How are they already so far? How does her Excel spreadsheet look so dang clean and crisp and good? And she's got all the formulas. I haven't figured that out yet. That's okay. That's okay. Maybe your Excel spreadsheet being super basic is perfectly enough. It's enough. And that's fine. Maybe your book is 50 pages. There are plenty of books that have sold millions of copies that are 50 pages. Maybe your book doesn't need to be 350 pages. Look at Seth Godin. Seth Godin is an author. His books are very short. They're to the point. He does not like fluff. I mean, how many books do you get through where you're like, okay, they didn't need to add this chapter or this story, or and those are fine too. Some people love a nice fluffy book. There's something for each of us. There's a style of writing for you. There's a style of writing for me. Do it your way at your pace. Your way, your pace. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. Let's check in today with a moment to be with our breath. A moment to check in with your unique pace and where you are at today. If you are driving, making sure that you do this with your eyes open, that you keep conscious awareness on the road, or you come back to this later. You can do this little breath exercise while driving or while moving. Just simply ensure that your presence is there, or if you feel uncomfortable with that, come back to it later. Taking a nice deep breath into your nose, out through the mouth. Maybe a couple more of those breaths into the nose, out through the mouth. Last one. And on that exhale, allowing your energy to sink into the surface beneath you, settling, allowing your awareness to travel down to the seat beneath you if you are seated, your feet beneath the ground. There you go. Now drawing your attention to the breath, noticing the breath as it flows in and out. The cool air as it flows into your nose and the warm air as it flows out. Allowing yourself to check in with your energy, with your pace, and breathing in to the nose, out through the mouth, beginning to rotate that breath at a pace that feels good to you today. Deep inhales in, full complete exhales out. For 20 seconds here, just drawing that breath deep into your nose and out through the mouth. Allowing yourself to find the pace that feels good to you today. Noticing that you are giving your body exactly what it needs. When you are ready, exhaling all the air. Allowing your energy once more to settle. Checking in with yourself. Thanking yourself for showing up to this practice today. Listening to this episode. And just once more telling yourself, I am exactly where I am supposed to be. Drawing one last breath in. Nice cleansing exhale. There you go. When you are ready, opening up your eyes if they were closed. Just returning back to the present. There you go. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you gained something really beautiful for yourself, whether it was simply that pause to check in with your energy or something for you to take forward into your life today. If you enjoyed this episode and you got something out of it, I encourage you to share it with a friend who could use it. Maybe take a little screenshot of this episode artwork, share it on social media. If you tag me, Untethered Jen, I will always, always, always share your post. Now you just keep shining your unicorn light out there for all to see. I'll see you next time.